Hey, what's up, guys? Tougie here, back again with another episode of my Toronto Blue Jays franchise mode series right here on MLB The Show 18. And today we get to prepare for Season 3, and if anything, we get to start in on Season 3. Now, in the last episode, of course, there were some major moves. The acquisition of Chris Sale, the reworking of our outfield, although perhaps not for the best, because that has not exactly solved our issue in terms of speed and defense, which is absolutely still the biggest weakness of this team. As I have the team set up as it would be on opening day, you can see our rankings there. We're somewhat one-dimensional. We're great at pitching. We're great at hitting. Can we play defense and can we run? No, we cannot. Can this team win despite two very obvious flaws? Probably not. And I admit that right out of the gate. However, in terms of reworking the outfield, there really wasn't a whole hell of a lot we could do. Billy Hamilton was really the only answer, and on his own, we might have gone from 28th in speed to 21st. We were still not going to be a fast team overall, and we're not going to be great defensively either. Now, admittedly, I'm okay with us not being as great defensively because we at least are in the AL and we have a DH and we don't have to worry about it as much. It is still a huge issue. The problem is whether or not we can make any changes to that right now. I have this team completely set up. I went ahead and signed all the depth that we were going to sign. You might notice some minor players are gone. Might have just had to cut some C potential guys to make space to well round it out. And overall, I wait until the start of spring training because you never know if you're going to find some decent prospects to sign. Some guys who might have a bit of value. Nick Nelson is a perfect example of that. He'll at least have some trade value once we get to the midpoint, the midway point of the season. As here, actually. We haven't made any trades, but free agency. That is everything that we've done. Feel free to look at that on your own time. You may have noticed one name in particular. I couldn't help myself. I thought of using him as a pinch hitter / DH, and as it turns out, he's still a little bit better than I would have thought. Now, I have moved Vlad Jr. over to first, as we talked about. Of course, DJ LeMahieu's still at second. What could we really do in terms of speed and fielding? I'm not quite sure. I mean, the stats are bad, but we're not that terrible. I don't think we have any gold glove winners, but we're still in an interesting spot. And yes, shortstop-wise, I sent Fernando Tatis back to AAA. I want to see how he does there. Still the potential to trade him as well. We might not need him. In a way, I still don't regret going out to get him. He's a good piece that we can flip. He had a good season last year. Didn't work out in the playoffs, of course. And then this outfield's been completely reworked, of course, with Rhys Hoskins there. The big question marks, I think everyone's okay with Hoskins. It's the lack of speed, though. Would it be better to have Billy Hamilton here as opposed to Odubel Herrera? Probably. Odubel Herrera. Would it be better? Probably, but obviously it's just not how it worked out. Of course, we had to make certain trades just to end up with Herrera and Avisail Garcia. And outfield-wise, we have a good amount of depth, really. We have a crazy amount of depth. We have too much depth. Hoskins, Herrera, Grichuk, Schebler, and Garcia. Odds are we're gonna have to make some changes there. I mean, this is how the Major League team is shaping up. Although, by the way, I do want to mention this. I also changed out our scouts. We brought on some new scouts. We had the best scouts available for each of the 4 territories. So I did make that change as well. I wanted to bring that up before people were like, wait a minute, what happened with your scouts? That's it. That's all we did. So this is how the team is shaping up. Rotation-wise, of course, Chris Sale, the major addition. Jamison Tyon, Alex Wood, Denilson Lamet. And, of course, we're going to be giving Diego Liriano the opportunity. Zach Eflin is going to be our long reliever this season. And then, of course, the rest of the bullpen's amazing. Hendricks, Givens, Addison Reed, and then, of course, the trio of Rivero, Doolittle, and Brad Hand. I'm going to start Brad Hand as the closer. I don't know. It's tough because of the 88 clutch for Rivero as opposed to anything else. You know what? Maybe I'll put Rivero back there because he is up to a 93. The thing here, of course, and for example, Sean Doolittle, is he going to be upset that he's not the closer? Yes. but he can still be above that legitimate 87 overall due to everything else. So I'm more than all right with having this trio of closers as opposed to two of them being relievers. I'm still fine with that. And of course, last season, Hendricks was great, really. Michael Givens was amazing. He was terrible in the postseason. This bullpen's ridiculous. And then, of course, the addition of Addison Reed. I'm excited to see what they can do. It's not hard to wonder why we have the best pitching staff in baseball. Lineup-wise, though, it's interesting because I looked at the hitting stats for everybody, and it kind of makes more sense for Bichette to not be a regular player, which might not be the best way to go, but this would be the best, lineup against righties with a DH. Herrera leading off, which again, for speed, not ideal, but Herrera, LeMahieu, Hoskins, Edwin. Edwin is still amazing. Schebler, DH, Jr. at third, Grichuk at right, Duffy at short. I suppose the only thing that would, have me put Bichette in full time is if we end up getting rid of Duffy. The problem is, again, this team's just ridiculous. This would be the lineup against lefties. Non-DH, Schebler would be out. I don't know. It's so tough. It is so tough to know what to do right now. The problem is we have to wait anyway, at least a couple of weeks into the season, so that guys like Nick Nelson can be flipped. Because right now, of course, the AI is like, nah, we don't want this player. They do. It's just kind of the counter that this game puts in so that you can't immediately flip players. But overall, we're looking pretty good. I saved you quite a bit of time by just jump cutting. We're not even jump cutting, but just by starting this episode, a good 30, 40 minutes into having to prep this team. We have obvious deficiencies. It's just whether or not we can overcome it. Bo Bichette's actually the best prospect in baseball. I feel like he has to play. And Duffy's not the kind of guy that I'm afraid to get rid of. I can't help but think pairing Duffy and two of the outfielders, potentially Herrera and Garcia, to bring in another major outfielder, one who has a little bit of speed, might be the best way to go. But as mentioned, bringing in one outfielder who has a ton of speed, it's going to be great for the leadoff, but in terms of improving our all-around speed, that's something that's not going to happen for a while. That requires years of change. That's just not something that we're going to be able to fix immediately to flip a bunch of players for. Could have gotten off to a better start by acquiring Billy Hamilton. Of course, we did not. So while there are changes in mind, and admittedly, I think with Matt Duffy kind of being towards the bottom of the lineup so frequently, the addition of Edwin Encarnacion was not needed. Like I said, I was planning on playing him as more of a DH, but he's just so good. He really is. He's just so good still in terms of power. The easy thing to do here, that's the thing. The reason why it's so easy to do that is Garcia is not as good against righties. Garcia is really good against lefties. Herrera is really good against righties. So I'm still not entirely sold on them. The big get from Philly, of course, was Rhys Hoskins when we flipped Polanco. I really like Duffy, though. I do. I don't necessarily want to take him out. You can see the problem that we have, but it is a great problem to have. I think for the moment, I am going to take out Duffy. We're going to bring in Bichette. We're going to drop him below Miella. And, we have to start Bo Bichette. But I just wanted to give you a look at what the most optimal lineup would have been in terms of hitting attributes. But having someone like a Duffy as a full-time player still really wouldn't be a bad way to go. We don't play Encarnacion. We play Guerrero at first. We do have some really good options here. Edwin, you know what? You're very useful, but I think I'm going to take you out of the lineup, actually. Perhaps a controversial move, but I am going to take you out of the lineup. Duffy's going to be ahead of Bichette and Miella there, and we will do it that way. I guess. I don't know. I'm tempted. Miella actually has better hitting stats than Bichette. So you know what? Let me change this up a little bit. So again, we will swap out Duffy, switch the positions, and Duffy will hit ahead of Miella and Bichette. So I want to play Edwin full time. I could, in a way, it would make sense, but we will not And we'll play Bichette ahead of Duffy there just based on the hitting stats. Move Vlad over to first. Again, he's been changed to a first baseman. Third base now as the alternate. I don't want to get into optimizing players. Like, you could argue that Junior, is still a really good third baseman. And maybe just because of the speed, it'd be better to play Reese at first. I don't really want to get into changing player position types. Just not a bad habit or anything. But just easier to handle it this way. So we'll take Duffy, add him in, change him with Junior, and there we go. So we have Encarnacion, who's like an improvement, flat out an improvement on what we had in terms of a power option compared to Morales last season. Lino, Urena, just your regular depth options, and then Vasil Garcia. It's still a very strong lineup. I do wonder if that's changed our power rating. Probably. No, we're still good. All right, shit. Here, let me sim forward a day. Just make sure that everything is on manual, and it is. And I think we're pretty much good to go. We just take another look here. Yeah, we're still set. We're still set. It's just a matter of how this team performs and whether or not we make further changes. Will the lack of speed and the lack of defense hurt us tremendously this season? I'm not sure. If anything, though, our pitching and our hitting game, it might be enough. It just might be, because we are so well-rounded. It is ridiculous, frankly. Just what we should be capable of at the plate. And then again, having someone like Bichette, I'm intrigued to see how well he can improve. And indeed, that does make someone like Tatis, of course, it was always just a little bit extra to end up with him. But we'll see. He's now an option that we could easily trade. No doubt about it. I just wanted to make sure that AAA is good to go, and it pretty much is, although Grayson Long is a starter, huh? I need to bring in Martin. It's the one change I would make. That works. And then AA, just let me make sure. Again, I'm going to try to take away computer control as much as I can, because we've seen that doesn't always work out. Grichuk not being available for us in the postseason is a good example. So in the East, the only pitcher or the only scout is Sherrill. He's good with pitchers, but not position players. I'm still probably going to have him scout position players, which isn't a good idea. But just to keep it simple, perhaps. Again, I would like to end up with an international scout who can at least deal with both player types. So let's go pitchers righty clutch, pitchers righty clutch, pitchers righty clutch, and pitchers righty clutch. I think for this episode, what we're going to do is we are going to sim up to the draft. I don't know if I'll go through it. I might. But at the very least, we're going to sim to the draft. We're going to double check back with the team, as we just beat Boston 4 in a row to start the season. We're going to check back with the team. We're going to see what changes we might have to make as we approach the All-Star break. Because, as I've said, the goal is simple: to win the pennant. Now, really, the initial goal, of course, was to make sure that we had good job security by the end of the 3 years, which there's no doubt that we will. As long as we make the playoffs this year, the negative from not winning the pennant, as there is a huge trade to begin, Jose Quintana off to Pittsburgh. So it's kind of weird to see Pittsburgh buying, in a way. But point being, we've accomplished our goal. I didn't just want to rebuild this team, and in a way we have. We've drafted well, and we've picked up some prospects here and there. I like our chances this season. It's just now a matter of going forward and seeing how it all plays out. I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to convince myself more than anything, but we are off to a 7-2 start. And as far as the scouting goes, I do think that I'm just going to kind of go with a generic, 2 days for each kind of setup. That seems to work well for me, unless we go targeted scouting, which is obviously not what we're doing. I wouldn't say we really need anything in particular. Of course, like a first baseman for the future, but if we keep Vlad at first, then we're set. So, and there's the first big injury. Herrera is out for a month or two. Now, we do have the depth to overcome that, but it still hurts. That does still hurt. That'll mean guys like Grichuk and Garcia get to play a little bit more frequently. And as far as the call-up option, I don't want to call up Verdugo. I want him to play full-time. I'm going to call up Richie Schaefer, who is another guy that we signed as a free agent. He's actually killing it. The problem with him, D potential, but you can see his attributes. He'll be great, actually, coming off the bench for us, and he's been pretty damn good for the Buffalo Bison this season. So we'll call him up, and Uribe will go up to triple, and then to double, let's go with the 58 Brian William, who is another guy that we just signed recently. So lineup-wise, right, there's a bit of an issue there. The option here would be to play Schebler out. Play Schebler out and right. He's better than Garcia. Again, Garcia's better against lefties. And then just play Edwin Encarnacion at DH, which I agree with. Problem is left field, or center field. Schebler has the speed. So while the fielding isn't there, the arm isn't there, he does have the speed. I think I'm going to play Grichuk at center. So we'll put Encarnacion at DH. Obviously, he's not going to lead off. And we'll play Grichuk at center. So in terms of a leadoff, who do we want to bump up? Potentially Grichuk. He has good power. Maybe Duffy. Duffy's not that fast, though. I think Duffy's... Do I want Duffy at leadoff? Schebler, I know he has the 71 speed, but I don't really want him at leadoff just because of the power that he has. You know what? I feel like I have no choice, really. So I'm going to bump up Schebler. And we'll put Edwin at 4. Yeah, because Vlad doesn't have to be full-time. And full-time in terms of a star. He doesn't have to be a star player in the top 4. So this changes things just a little bit. And as far as who the hell is going to play center here, I feel like it has to be Grichuk, who was normally the guy, taken out. So there we go. We'll swap him and Schebler. And we'll drop him below Junior. So, good thing is lefties, Herrera wasn't in to begin with. So I don't know if I went the full 2 days on scouting. To be honest, it doesn't really matter. We're good to go. So let's focus. We will focus on catchers. That's okay. We can give that a little bit of time. Arm strength and fielding. Take care of that. Of course, we'll focus on their batting abilities. Arm strength and fielding works. Let's move on now. Without Herrera, we drop our first game. Autofix lineups for Buffalo. And we lose the next 2 to Tampa. It is a 4-game series, so we have time to turn it around. Jesus Christ. I keep getting these alerts. Kind of annoying. Let's go power contact. Catcher. Power contact. No other catchers in the West, huh? Interesting. Infield, let's go fielding and speed. Catcher, let's go, again, power and contact. Power and contact. Beautiful. I didn't want to hit play next game. 2 games. Last game against Tampa. Chris Sale will keep him active. We beat Tampa, so we at least split that series. And we start off the Texas series with a win. We're up to 13-4 on the season, which is obviously tremendous. Whether or not that maintains, probably not. But you never know. You never know. We're certainly off to a better start than I ever could have hoped for. A little bit of validation, but I mean, obviously, all that matters is the postseason. All that matters is how this continues. As Gonzalez goes down in Double-A. Of course, we lost the next 2 games there, so don't get cocky. That is the story. Power and contact. You get to move to the outfield. We'll go arm strength and fielding. Here we'll go power and contact. Why don't you do contact power? I don't know. I don't really want to. Power and contact. Another 2 days. Still 13-6 on the year. Win the first 2 games against Houston, so we're taking that series at the very least. And outfield, let's go arm strength and fielding. You get to go speed and contact. You get to go outfield, arm strength and fielding. Outfield, arm strength and fielding. So like I said, there's certain ways to handle scouting. That's worked for me. Still out for 1 to 2 months. It must have been 10-day DL. It must have been what the AI put him on, which is fine. That way, he's not there for an extra amount of time. Speed and contact, power and contact. All outfielders have been discovered. So I think it's old Hector here. Gets to start looking up players. He's good with pretty much everyone. We'll have him take a look at Castro. Oh, let's see. Speed and contact. Whoops, reverse that. Speed and contact. Beautiful. Next 2 days, 3-game series against the Yankees, and we're already going to have won that. 18-6 on the season, which, again, is just tremendous. Navoa. Oh, what year is it? 3rd year. You know what? I'll check him out. I mean, he'll be ready next year at 23. That's a risk, but still, I at least want to get the info on him. Let's go back here. You get to go power contact, and you get to go power contact, and then we'll just focus solely on prospects. We can't sweep the Yankees. Grayson Long will go auto. Gonzalez will go auto. We beat Boston 7-1. Eflin got the win as a reliever. Interesting there. No injury either. So we are good to just start focusing on everybody. And again, we'll focus on the 80 potentials to start. Rhett Dooley. Not bad. We'll focus on the 80s to start. We'll take a look at bats. Let's take a look at Zapata. And then 21 years old, 4+ years away. No thank you to either Pena or Ventura. At first, 20 years old, 4+ years away. Valdez we'll take a look at. We'll also take a look at Stanton. So let's get to the end of April. So we sweep Boston. Boston's at 12-5. So they're struggling a little bit more than I would have expected. Obviously, the loss of Chris Sale has to be hurting them. Zapata, still looking decent, so we'll get further info on him. And then at first, Valdez, we'll get further info on you. 23, 4+ years away, no thank you. Again, I only want to focus on the 80s right now. Rivas, 21, 4+ years away. I'll hold off on scouting him. Pedro Santos could be tremendous. And Medeiros. We'll also take a look at him. Starting a 3-game series against Cleveland. We lose game 1, we lose game 2. Well, it looks like Cleveland's still going to be a problem for us, which doesn't really surprise me. I suppose Zapata could be really good. Let's see. At first, nobody else. At second, Rivas will hold off on scouting. Medeiros, we'll get further info on you. Dexter Buckner, hell of a name. We'll get info on you. Len Hill. And we'll move over to shortstops. Coppola. James Coppola. I feel like that's the name of my optometrist. We're good. We'll take a look at Eric Batista. Coppola, I might scout later on, but he's not a necessity. But that's right. Cheryl's... I made that mistake. I forgot. Cheryl's not good with position players. So Cheryl, let's go back to pitchers. You'll focus on pitchers for now. Take a look at Salazar. That was a mistake, but that's okay. We didn't lose out on too much time. So, at the end of April into May, 23-9 to begin the season, 4.5 up. We're down to the 5th-ranked team. Our power's dropped a little bit, but the speed's up. Still first in contact and pitching. 23 wins. Is that the best in the majors? No, it is not. Cleveland. Oh, my God. Oh, Cleveland. They are going to continue to be a major problem for me, aren't they? They really are. Here, we'll scout that out for one more day. We beat Oakland 9-1. Beautiful. And then let's see. Toogie, why are you scouting this closer? You don't need closers because I want to. You can never have too many closers. And I see more closers becoming decent relief pitchers than actual relief pitchers. Just seems to be the way the game works. You know what? 20 and 4 years away. I want to hold off on those. That's not what we really should prioritize. Shortstop. Nobody else. Left. Kruger. Oh, Santana could be great if that's accurate. And Mark Ramirez. Can't go wrong with a left fielder named M. Ramirez, can you? I really don't think you can. As we drop the next 2 games to Oakland. And let's take a look again. Salazar. All right, no good closers, actually. Let's take a look at Bergman. Bergman, please. Thank you. And then let's just go to right. Nobody half decent there. What about at center? Abreu. Let's take a look at Montoya. And Gonzalez is what he is. What about in left? Let's get full info on Santana. He could be the real deal. Go to the next 2 days. Mauzul out in Double-A with a broken foot. That's unfortunate. As we also drop another game. 3 straight losses. 24-12 now on the year. Let's see, back to relievers. Let's take a look. There's actually quite a few relievers here. If any of these guys end up being half decent, that could be nice. Starting pitching, we actually have quite a bit of depth already. Gonzalez could be awesome. We'll take a look at Woodyard. Abreu, didn't end up being that great. I didn't even notice if he was 21. Let's see, and then in left, let's take a look at Zambrano and Sean Reyes, and then we'll start focusing on some of the 75s. We are 28 days out from the draft. Grichuk will keep you active as we have lost 5 straight games out of nowhere, including being swept by Baltimore after splitting a 4-game series with Oakland. Definitely not what I had in mind. Definitely not. Actually, here, let's go back to scouting. Is there anybody... Do I want to keep Bregman focused or Bergman or Sherrill focused on pitchers? I was reading the player name as the scout name. Or do we want to focus on some pitching here? I think I'm just going to have him continue to focus on pitchers on his own. We'll take it from there. Milo Meeks. I hope you work out because that's a great name. So we'll focus on 75s. We have a DiMaggio who could be tremendous. Damian Batts as well. We'll get full info on you. And then at first, Bruno Anaya. We'll take a look. 26 days out from the draft. Martin will go auto. Zapata will go auto. We are just dropping games left and right. Holy shit. 7 straight losses now. What a terrible start to May. And there goes all of the goodwill that this team earned early on. And I know some people are dancing in the streets, already typing up the I told you so messages. Catcher. Let's see. So no more 75s, which is what I want to focus on. Not that there can't be great players that are 70s. Obviously, you see DiMaggio really dropping off. The ETA changed by a drastic amount as well. But we do have to prioritize these 75 potentials. We're not targeting anything specifically, of course. So let's see at first. Zapata. And that is it there. Although Anaya, I want full info. And actually, catcher-wise, yeah, we're still good. So then at second, Escalona, good ETA. We'll take a look at you. Let's continue onward. We finally snapped the losing streak after getting swept by the Yankees, so that's a positive, I suppose. I guess. Not really ideal, was it? 3 more 80s left for relievers. And let's see, who else do we have? So a catcher, we look to be good. Oh, Anaya, we have full info. Let's get full info on Zapata. And again, nobody else there. At second, no 75s or 80s. Third base could be a good draft there. And then at shortstop, nobody there either. To the outfield. Anybody? We'll take a look at Mateo. And we'll also take a look at Elvis Rivera, because his name is Elvis Rivera. Garcia will keep active, and holy hell, we won a series. 2 out of 3 against Houston. We're up to 26-18 now on the year. Let's go back to relievers. Take a look at Herschel Joyce. And from there, who else do we have? In right, anybody? We have Franco. In center, Avalos. We'll hold off on Abreu. We have Avalos. And we have Tommy Neff. That we'll get a better look at. First game against Tampa. That's another loss. Wow, this has been terrible for us. We're now 2 games back of Baltimore. Wow, what a decline. And why is Zach Eflin... What the fuck? Why would the game have done that? Granted, Liriano was really struggling. I don't get why the game would have done that on its own. That's incredibly weird. Also, someone like Chris Sale is really struggling. That's also... Oof, wow. Alright, so when Zach Eflin's one of your best pitchers, holy shit, those are a lot of 3s. And Lamet really struggled. The bullpen's been great. Rivero and Doolittle, not so much. Brad Hand's down to an 84. Now see, that's the bad part, is when Brad Hand's pissed off. Doolittle is not pissed off, at least, and Rivero's about to be pissed off because, yeah. Now, I know in real life he changed his name. I'm still just going to call him Rivero. We're going to make Brad Hand the closer. Because as it is, he's actually been good, whereas Rivera and Doolittle, not so much. Not so much. Lineup-wise, holy shit, Randall, what are you doing? You know, maybe I waited too long to take a look at this whole situation, but I didn't expect it to be this bad. 197 average for Grichuk. What's the on base? A 247. Now, in comparison to the league leader, which is at a 432. So, you know, anything over, you know, the 300s is, the higher up in the 300s is where you want to be, right? Yeah, Randall, again, what was it? 247. He hit 296 last year. Yikes. That might spell the end of his tenure here. LeMahieu's at least at a 270 average, which is what you'd expect for him. A 332 on base, so he's all right. Hoskins is doing well, hitting home runs, hitting RBIs, great batting average with a 366. Edwin, I mean, 240 average. He's declining sharply, which again, he wasn't supposed to be in full time. His on base is great. Junior, doing well, doing as you would expect him to do. 357 on base, so Junior's killing it. Schebler, only a 214. Home runs and RBIs are solid, but what's the on-base percentage for Schebler here? Pretty good. Pretty good. I can deal with that. Duffy's doing well. Miea's doing well. And Bichette's doing about as well as you really could have expected. Schaefer's gotten some time. He's doing well. Garcia's looking good. Lino hasn't played much, but, you know. And Urena, it's about what you'd expect. So the big factor here is Randall Grichuk is just not getting it done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop him in the lineup. Schebler's on a cold streak too. I'm going to drop him in the lineup. I'll replace him and Schebler. If he can't get it going by the... Why the fuck is Schaefer in at center? I swear to God, it just makes changes whenever it wants to. It really does. And it's so frustrating. It's because of the whole auto-utilize thing. It's like, oh, let's play Schaefer at center. It's fucking bullshit. Whatever. I'll go auto on those. You see now why I don't... It's a little bit frustrating when you're not going on a day-to-day basis and when you're trying to make progress like I do. It can be a little bit frustrating. Let's sim the next two against Tampa. We win both of them. We'll auto-utilize Garcia. I do wonder what the lineup looks like now. At least Garcia's back. Someone like Schebler isn't going to get as much playing time now, which is unfortunate. He isn't against lefties, so we'll see what happens there. I'll let the game decide from here. But we do have some underperforming players, of course, that we have to keep an eye on. So we might not get to the draft in this episode because the next episode might be the draft and trades. That is what it's looking like. So Cheryl, take a look at Preston Rhodes, and everybody else. I think I'm going to start focusing in on pitchers. Otherwise, I have to focus in on 70s, and there's a lot of starting pitching that I could potentially look at here. So are there any other 75s left that are worth taking a look at? I think the answer is no, unfortunately. Yeah, I think we're pretty much good. Mateo, I want a full report on at least. But other than that, I think we're good. Unless I wanted to start focusing on 70s, which I could because again, starting pitching wise, we're okay. We have some prospects in the system. Might not be the worst draft. I mean, there's a lot of 80s here though. Looks like it's going to be another really good starting. Or another really good draft for starting pitching. I think I'm going to hold off, though. I think I am, because we've drafted pretty well. So you know what? Let's focus on those 70s. If Cheryl can get around to scouting any of them, cool. But if not, it's fine. Let's see what we can get here for any potential late steals. We're 16 days out from the draft as we lose that first game to Boston. What a terrible stretch this has been for us. Whoops, went the wrong way. Relief pitching. Rhodes could be pretty damn good. How's Mateo looking? Down to a 70. So for catchers, again, if you are a 70, we'll take the time to scout you out. That's how we'll handle it. Let's see, we lose that series to Boston now, 29-21. Brutal. We're only a game back, but like I said, any kind of goodwill we built up at the start, it's gone. We choked that away as we split the first 2 games of this series against the Mets. Let's see. Again, we can only really focus on the hires. Unfortunately, Rhodes dropped back down to a 75. I'm going to just stay focused on the relief pitching. Screw the starting pitching. It is what it is. We're not going to have that high of a draft pick anyway. I want a full report on Salazar. And then at catcher, Acosta's not worth scouting. We'll get the full report on Gaston, maybe. I keep hitting X too quickly. Ventura and Pena aren't worth scouting. So we found Gonzalez out of that. At first, Ryan Berry. And we'll take a look at Al Hemphill, because he has a great name. We lose the series to the Mets. We beat the Yankees 13-4, which is quite nice. Let's see, closers. Let's go back to closers. Let's take a look at Chad Bennett. Back over here. Anybody else? The answer is no, so we'll focus on first. Anybody else? There's a lot of 70s potentially, but most of them look terrible. We'll scout out Medrano. Let's see, from there, Chavez. No, 23 and years away. Get a full report on Barry. And that is that for first baseman, Medrano. Yeah. I didn't really get a full report on him. You know, we'll go back to him. Let's sim the next 2 days. Schebler's going to be out for a couple of days, and we lose the series to the Yankees. The draft is in 6 days, and it's been a tale of 2 halves so far in terms of how well we started compared to what we are looking like now, which is not as good as what I was hoping. We started off very well, and it dropped off considerably. That's second. Who do we have for 70s? Just Harvey Houston. Great name. Love the alliteration. Rivas and Bryant, not worth looking at. And again, some of the first basemen as well for prospects. They really dropped off. Third, we have Zach Cassidy, who is worth taking a look at. And Sean Walker as well. So we might get to look at the outfield a little bit more. Why do we have... Oh, fucking hell. Okay, well, I at least know. Let's send down Schaefer. And then we'll send down... Williams actually already back down. Who are called to AAA? 1, 2, 3, 4. Guess we'll send down Gary King. There we go. Beautiful. Oh, the next 2 days, Schebler's back. We split the first 2 against Seattle. What a terrible month May was for us. Holy hell. I can't believe it ended up being that bad for us. That is insane. Let's scout out Fernando Veras. And then from there again, first base, we're good. I want a full report on Houston, who looks like he could be great. 70s and up. Zach Cassidy, he's okay, but I still want a full report. And then at short, do we have anybody? We do. We only have, we got 2 guys. Aguero might be worth looking at, but Rich Gonzalez is the only one I'm really going to focus on. And not DeAndre Jordan. I'm sorry. We win against Seattle. Next game, we split the 4-game series. So as of June 1st, we're at 33-27. Again, a tale of 2 starts. April, incredibly solid, and then May hit, and we fell apart for the most part. We still have a winning record. We're only a game back of Baltimore. The AL East isn't looking as dominant as it once was, but it is incredibly disappointing to see just how quickly it fell off, really. Oh, let's see. 70 potential. I'm looking for someone who's younger as well. Let's get a full report on Snowden. And then from there, let's go back towards shortstop. I do want a full report on Gonzalez. And I think that's it. Aguero, and he's 2 years away, so no thank you. We're good. Are there any of the outfielders that we can check quickly? 22, O'Reilly, we'll check him. And we'll also check out Redmond. In fairness, Jim Vento towards the bottom could also be worth looking at. And we'll sim that day and check back. Let's see. Snowden we have a bit more info on. Let's take a look at Valdez. Shortstop-wise, Gonzalez could be a steal. Maybe. If we could get him as a mid-round pick, that'd be pretty good. And then let's see. In left, who do we have? I want to take a look at Vento. Rivera. Yeah. Is there anybody else here? Zambrano? No thank you. Coleman? No thank you. Let's get a full report on Kruger. And let's get a full report on Redmond. So there we go. That will bring us pretty much to the draft. It's in one extra day, so we won't sim forward beyond the 3rd. As of June 3rd, we're at 34 and 27 on the season. Again, a tale of two seasons. We are tied for first. I mean, a tale of two halves so far to this season. We are tied for first in the AL East, but in terms of wins, Cleveland on 42. And, you know, in fairness, we're not too bad. The Dodgers on 39, the Rockies on 38. We're okay. We're the 4th-ranked team right now. Still, obviously, quite one-dimensional. You know, it's been tough. It's been tough. But I'm still feeling relatively good about where we are this season. Just to get a full look, if we look at the team rankings, batting average, we're further down than we should be. 21st. Not ideal. In terms of runs scored, 13th. That's okay. Hits, 15th. Home runs for one of the top power teams in baseball. We're on 15th. Stolen bases, I imagine we're dead last. Oops, turns out I can just hit up. We're not. We're tied for 23rd. So there we go. Oh, man. And in terms of the most strikeouts, thankfully we're not up there too far. We're on 18th. Slugging percentage, on base percentage actually is the last thing I want to check. 16th. So we are definitely underperforming to a pretty big extent. Team ERA. We're actually 8th in team ERA. Zach Eflin is fucking killing it. Batting average, Adam Frazier's up there to 361, which is insane. There's no way he'll sustain that. And then home run leaders, Hoskins is up there with 15. So we're not looking too bad. Let's take a look here. So rotation-wise, Sale, of course, is the ace. That's not a surprise to anybody. Not doing as well as we would have hoped, obviously. He's kind of dropped back a little bit. But it's still okay. Yeah, you see the wins above replacements really dropped off. The Ks per nine's dropped off. He's walking more players, giving up more home runs. He's declined a little bit. He only has a 3-5 record as well, as opposed to 17-5. So we'll hope he can get that together. Jameson Taillon has dropped off a bit. Good win-loss record, but that ERA's dropped off. And in terms of wins above replacements, it's dropped off. It's just, we need him to be better. Dinelson Lamet, pretty consistent, actually, compared to last season. Still might not be the guy that we want for that spot. Alex Wood is unrecognizable. Just unrecognizable compared to what he did for us last season. Jesus. Big time question marks about Lamet and Wood. Zach Eflin, however, who I originally called up as our long reliever, has killed it so far this season. He's been tremendous. Diego Liriano, that ERA's dropped off a bit, but obviously he's been the long reliever. The walk and hits, per inning, it's the whip. It's okay. It's okay. In terms of any other options, we don't really have any other in-house options for a long reliever. Bullpen-wise, Hendricks, solid. Happy about that. Addison Reed, solid. Michael Givens, solid. Brad Hand, solid. Doolittle, not. And I was worried about him. He's really fallen off. And then, of course, there's Rivero. A couple of minuses. He's looking a little bit better. You could argue that Brad Hand is still the guy to go for. He's declined a little bit, and obviously he's upset about not being the closer. So that's the one instance where, he's actually upset, as opposed to like Doolittle. Normally we've been able to keep players satisfied. Brad Hand is now pissed off. So that's something we're going to have to address, whether we make sure he's the closer or we perhaps look at making certain trades. I mean, I could make sure he's the closer. Maybe we see what Rivero has left. I don't know. We have options. But for the middle of the bullpen, I'm happy with it. Liriano is the long reliever. We can give him a little bit more time to see if he can drop certain numbers. We might have to make a decision here. We were able to keep this trio relatively happy. Rivero is at least looking slightly better than he was last season. But, I mean, overall, I'm not really sure what we'd want to do with that trio. So, definitely room for improvement. It's just how soon do we want to make these changes? Obviously we don't want to be dropping games, but Lamet, Wood, not really happy about them, and not happy at all about Doolittle's numbers. Rivero and Hand, that's the big decision. And whether or not we go with Brad Hand is just the full-on closer, which might not be the worst idea. And I mean, hell, Rivero's just been okay. Might not be the worst idea to just say, fuck it, let's go with Brad Hand. He's 30. Give him the next 3 to 5 seasons here. Let him be the closer. Trade Doolittle, Rivero. Bring in 2 other normal relievers that'll probably put Hendricks and Givens into slightly better spots. Could also look to improve the rotation, of course, with the underperforming players that we have. And then lineup-wise, of course, the lack of speed still a factor. LeMahieu, though, doing quite well. The batting average is up from last year. The on-base percentage, of course, is still solid, so I'm happy with him. Herrera's been pretty good. I'm not complaining about a .333 average. I mean, he just hasn't played that much, of course. But from what we've seen of him so far, he's been all right. It's just, of course, whether or not we want to trade him. Rhys Hoskins, I don't need to take a look at the rest of the numbers. He's been great. Schebler, when he gets hits, he's great. It's just whether or not he's hitting the goddamn ball. So he's like me in Little League. If he hits the ball, it's great. It's just how often is he hitting the ball? Not enough is the answer. Vlad Jr.'s been pretty good from the looks of it. A couple of minuses, but, overall, pretty damn good. No complaints. Grichuk's returned to form a little bit. Kind of similar to a Schebler at this point, though. If he's hitting the ball, good. But if he's not, it's pretty shit. Miea, actually not too bad. .254 average. Like what I'm seeing there. On base could be a little bit higher. Matt Duffy, .242. You could argue for sure now at this point whether or not Matt Duffy's worth keeping. Whether or not he is worth keeping at this point is a question mark. And Bo Bichette's turned it around a little bit. Not bad. Not bad at all from Bo. So in terms of question marks, Matt Duffy, is he expendable at this point to make room for someone like a Garcia, even though he's not as good against righties, to make room for an Encarnacion, to make room for a Tatis, to help him get into the lineup full time? We have options. It's just now a matter of making the right moves at the right time, and of course making sure that the right players are in the lineup, which I'll reorder that as best I can. So we have some decisions to make. I want your opinion on what to do lineup-wise and maybe what we look to do trade-wise, and when is it the right time to start making these moves. In the next episode, we will go through the draft, we will make the changes that we'll have to make, and then we'll sim the rest of the season. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm anxious now at this point. What the month of June holds for us, I have no idea. Still a lot of baseball to be played. So guys, that'll do it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. You know what time it is. It's time for me to say the things that all YouTubers say, and if they don't say it, they put little special on-screen graphics and they do whatever. It's the same message. Like, comment, subscribe, notification bell, Twitter, Twitch. I don't have an Instagram because I don't do anything interesting. Aside from, like, here's a picture of me walking my dog at 2 in the morning because I'm a psychopath. Like, that's about all you'd get, really. Yeah. Thanks for watching. I love you all. Goodbye.